Hi guys, Freddy here. Welcome back to another rules breakdown, and this time I'm going to be looking at this, Tales of Fur and Steel, Legends of the Smallfolk, which is a game I've written. Now, in rules breakdowns, I go through the rules of various games, so it's only fair that I go through the rules that I've written for this game. Now, Tales of Fur and Steel is a role-playing game where you play an anthropomorphic animal. A mouse, a rabbit, a hedgehog, a frog. Small animals which tend to live around human civilization in Europe, mainly. Now, these are heroes. They have typical fantasy attributes. They carry swords, they wear armour, go out on quests to save their villages, and that kind of thing. However, this game is set in the real world currently. So humans are around with modern devices, cars, mobile phones, electricity which lightens the night. But these are very strange and very different to the small folk. And they're so different that a type of magic surrounds the small folk, which basically make them invisible. If a human sees a small folk wandering past, they'll just see them as a typical type of that animal, a hedgehog or a mouse or that. But even if it's drawn to their attention that this is an animal that is acting very oddly, they'll just draw conclusions that it's somehow been affected. So if they notice that the mouse is wearing some chainmail armour, they'll assume that it's been caught up in a tin of beans or something, and it's wearing a tin can on it. They will justify their version of reality. And in this world, the other animals which have become domesticated, so cats and dogs, have become ravening monsters to the small folk. They are like they used to be part of that culture, but have been taken away from it by the domestication and their involvement in human society. So dogs are just big, dangerous monsters, whereas cats, while they can communicate and can tempt and tease the small folk, they're like dragons. They are incredibly dangerous and will kill and eat the heroes. Other animals, things like foxes, have been affected by the human world to a lesser degree, and as have rats. Now you can play a rat amongst the other player races, but rats are like barbarians in other games. They've lost a lot of their culture because they've taken on elements of humanity. So, small folk culture and humanity's culture are very different things, and as you move from one towards the other, you lose one of them. Anyway, as usual, I'm going to be using a sample character. And if I flick over to page 71 of the rulebook, we've got some sample NPCs, and I'm just going to be using the standard guard here. Now we've got his attributes, we've got some skills here, very few because he's just a small NPC, and we've got the modifiers. So he's a small folk guard, and we've got modifiers here in case we want to make him a squirrel, a mouse, a frog, a badger, a hedgehog, a rabbit, or a rat. And we would apply them if we want to, but we'll just use the basic stats for this character and this sample. Now, let's have a look at the rules. So, skills dealt with on page 7. So we flick forward to there. And we've got success tests. The standard success test follows the following formula. Attribute plus skill plus equipment plus a d20 versus a target number. So on the following page, on page 8, we've got the target numbers. Now easy is 20, normal 30, difficult 40, very difficult 50, heroic is 60. Now if we look at the small folk guard, we can see he's got attributes there and skills below. So, for example, if he's trying to climb, well, he doesn't have a climb skill, first of all, unless he's one of the races which can climb, so squirrels and mice both have a plus 10. So he'd have a plus 10 climbing skill. And skills are very descriptive in their nature. So if he's trying to haul himself up, grabbing on with sheer strength, then it would be strength plus his climbing skill. However, if he's nimbly scampering up, trying to find handholds, you'd be using agility. And that's how all skills work, that it's up to the player to describe their action. And the games master can apply which skills and which attributes determine that action. Because even amongst the skills, there is some overlap. So there's acrobatics, for example. Now, if you were to describe your way of climbing in a very acrobatic style, you could use your acrobatics. The game is about letting people do things, rather than finding barriers as to why they can't. So, we're looking at this, and we will say, since his strength and agility are both 15, that he's just using that. We won't give him any skill, we'll just make him the stock one, so he's not getting a bonus for being a squirrel or a mouse. So we've got a skill of 15. Got any equipment bonuses? Well, he has a sword, he has a tunic, and he has a shield. He doesn't have any ropes or anything which might give him a bonus. So, we're just rolling 15 plus a d20. So we throw the d20, and we're rolling 18. So we've rolled 33. So as long as it's a normal difficulty, he has succeeded. Even though he's not very skilled, he's not got a great attribute, he has succeeded in that task. And it's as simple as that. Now you've got to bear in mind the system also has critical failures and exploding dice. So if you roll a 1 on the dice, you've failed the task. When a 1 is rolled, the character fails the skill test automatically. They made a mistake and didn't manage to complete the task. If the total roll would also have failed anyway, then it is a critical failure, and the Games Master can add a complication, such as a tool breaking, them dropping their weapon, etc. Otherwise, it's just a simple fail. They messed up this time. Now, exploding dice means that if you roll a 20, you re-roll an add. And if you're lucky enough to roll another 20, you re-roll an add again. And it keeps exploding. So it's possible for very difficult target numbers to be succeeded on a total random occurrence. And initiative. Well, it's dealt with on page 18, so we'll flick forward a few pages. And page 18. Initiative determines the sequence of play during dramatic moments of action, and is determined with the following formula. Agility plus intelligence plus skill, if relevant, plus a d20. The highest going first, and everybody getting a single action for every 50 or part of it they get on this roll. So, we are looking back at our character. They have an agility of 15, an intelligence of 15. So they're rolling 30 plus a d20, plus any skill which is relevant. So, for example, if they were attacking from ambush and a person was unaware, they might be using their sneak skill to surprise an opponent, and that would get them bonus initiative. If they're fighting high amongst the trees and they're climbing around, then both people might get their climbing skills because another person who isn't as good as climbing might be grabbing on for handholds and reacting slower in combat. But that's up to the Games Master and up to the players to describe their actions as usual. But anyway, just using the basic part, we've got 15 plus 15, and we're rolling a d20, so we will throw, and we get a 7, so we have 37. So he's going one action because he did part of 50. If he'd rolled over 50, he'd be getting 2 actions in this round. But he's going up against another version of himself, and they roll a 6, so they're going in 36, so they're going second. So he's got 37, he goes first, and the person with the same attributes is going second in 36. So, combat's dealt with on the same page, page 18 of the rulebook. Combat is a matter of a single dice roll and is determined by the weapon being used. Attribute plus skill plus weapon plus a d20 versus target number. So going back to the character for a moment, we can see it's a descriptive game. So if you're describing yourself as hacking away hard, you'll be using your strength as your attribute. If you're dodging around in combat, it'll be agility. Generally for ranged weapon, it tends to be dexterity, but you could justify that in melee combat as well, if you're being very nimble in your attacks, very swift. So you choose one of those. In this case, they're all 15. So we've got 15 from our attribute. Then we are choosing our skill. Well, this character only has melee combat, which is using a sword, an axe, whatever, and it's plus 10. So that takes it up to 25 for their offensive action. And then they're choosing the weapon. Well, this character only has a bramble blade, which is a small sword, which adds plus 15. So that takes their 25 right up to 40. And then they're rolling a d20 on top of that. But what are they rolling against? What's the target number? Well, that very much depends on what the defender is doing. Basically, there are 2 types of defensive action. There's dodging and parrying. Now, if you dodge, that's your defensive action for the round, although it will refresh if you are getting high enough in your initiative to get 2 actions. And that creates the target number. So you're rolling your agility, because you're dodging around, plus your dodge skill, plus any armor. So we've got a bark weave tunic here and a bark hide shield, plus a d20. So he's got his shield and his armor, he's dodging around and he's trying to avoid getting hit. However, if he wanted to parry, a parry only accounts against one opponent, whereas the dodge counts against all the attacks that are made against you in that round. The parry only accounts against one opponent. But the difference is, if you get higher on your parry, you get to do a counter attack, and you end up doing damage against your opponent. So somebody who has a much higher melee skill is better in parrying and turning it into a counter attack to damage the opponent and beat them, rather than doing a dodge and defending themselves. However, if they've done the parry and then somebody else attacks them, they have no defense at all, and they'll be taking massive damage as somebody stabs them in the back. So dodge is going to be the standard defense that people use. So we had 40 plus a d20. So we are throwing for the attack, and we have 51. And adding up the defense, so we've got agility of 15, we've got dodge of 5, so that's 20. We've got a bark hide shield of 5, so that's 25, and a bark weave tunic, which is 8, so that's 33. So we're rolling 33 plus a d20, and we rolled a 3, so that's 36. So the attacker wins and hits their opponent. So, damage. Well, damage is really easy in this system, because it's just a matter of what's left over. If we go onto the rulebook, and we go onto the following page, so page 19, on a successful attack, any points over the opponent's defense target number is how much damage is done. So in the case we just rolled out, we rolled 51 for the attack, we rolled 36 on the defense, so we've done 15 points of damage. And it's very much as simple as that. Now, health is dealt with on the same page. Character's health is shown by hit points. Each character's hit points are equal to their constitution plus their hit point base, which is 30 at the start of play. Now, you can increase your constitution, and you can also increase your hit point base during play by spending experience. So there's two ways of increasing your hit points. When a character's hit points reaches 0, they drop to the ground unconscious and lose 1 hit point per turn until treated. Now, treating them can be an automatic task, although somebody can roll a healing roll as well, which we'll come on to in a second. When these hit points drop to a negative amount equal to their hit point base, which as I said is 30 at the start of play, then the character dies. So a massive amount of damage can be done to somebody, and somebody drops at negative hit points, but generally they've got this buffer of 30 points, which they can continue to live. They will bleed out, and anybody spending an action can stabilize them, or anybody can make a healing attempt at them. Now, you can heal your constitution hit points every day. This can be done at any point, only requiring you spend a single turn as a healing action. So during combat, you step back and you concentrate on healing up. You're sort of buffering yourself. You're using the innate magic in the small folk to heal yourself. This healing need not use your entire allocation of points at the same time. So healing can be spread over various uses of their healing action. So you've taken 5 points of damage, and you want to keep that. You want to keep yourself at maximum hit points, so you heal that 5 points of damage, and you've got the rest of your constitution. So for the example character is 15. They've still got 10 points they can heal at a later part in that same day. If a character is unconscious, then another character may attempt to stabilize them automatically by spending action, returning them to consciousness but exactly 0 hit points. So your character becomes stable at 0 hit points, and then while they lay on the ground, they can concentrate and use a natural heal if they want to get back into the action. At any point, even when a character is unconscious, another character may attempt a healing skill against them. This restores intelligence plus healing skill plus equipment, so any bandages or first aid kits or magical items they've got, plus d20 hit points. But a person may only be healed once per day. So you've got your natural heal, and you've got somebody first aiding you. And advancement. Well, advancement's done through experience points. If we go on to the next page, so page 20, we've got advancement. Advancement is measured through experience points. These should be awarded at a rate of around 10 per game session or 30 per short adventure, just to give a games master a vague guide. They can be spent as follows. To increase an attribute by 1 point, it costs the current level times 2 in experience points. Attributes may not be taken higher than 30 plus or minus their race attribute modifier. So certain animals are more agile, certain animals are more strong, and you can modify it up to that. So if you've got a plus 10 on your strength from whatever creature you are, you can take it up to 40, for example. Skills, 1 point increase, current level experience points. So if you've got a skill at 10, it costs you 10 to change it to 11. Skills may not be taken higher than 30 plus or minus your race modifier skill. So squirrels are natural climbers. If you want to increase your climbing skill, you can increase it up to 40 for a squirrel. But for other races which aren't so good at climbing, then they can only increase it up to 30. And certain races are actually really bad at things. So they will get a minus, and they will be only able to increase it to 20, for example. And then finally, we've got the hit point base. To increase it by 1 point, it's your current hit point base experience points. So if your hit point base is 30, at start of play, it will cost you 30 to increase it to 31. Your hit point base may not be taken higher than 60 points. So you can get a hit point base plus your constitution. So a character can take their hit points up to 90 hit points, 30 constitution plus 60 base. Or for certain races which have a higher constitution, they might be able to take their hit points up as high as 100. So that's Legends of the Smallfolk. Obviously, being the author, I'm enthusiastic about this. I like the artwork we've done for it. I definitely like the idea of the Smallfolk heroes. I think it's very cutesy and kind of fun. There's a heck of a lot in here, and whether this game is fairly successful, even if I only sell a dozen copies, I'm going to expand the world because I've got so many ideas for magic within it. Because there's no magical character classes in the game at base, there are some magical items, but I would like to introduce sorcery and that kind of thing, and introducing other types of small folk, because we've got some images in here. If I flick on a few pages, we've got the rats there, we've got the rabbits, we've got some different settings. We've got an otter here. Well, the otter player character race isn't in the rulebook, and I'd like to include more of the small folk to flesh out this world. We've got a bunch of adventure ideas in here, including one fleshed out adventure. I think hedgehogs in their plate mail are extremely cute, and I'm going to enjoy writing this stuff. I would love it if people would get involved and pick up copies on DriveThruRPG, pick up copies through becoming a patron, which will be linked to in the description down below, and join me in Tales of Fur and Steel. Anyway, I think I've whittled on for quite long enough as usual, so thank you very much for watching. As always, most of all, you look after yourselves, and I'll catch you later. Bye now.